Hello students, how are you? So today we are going to start our second term, and the first chapter in the second term of 7th class syllabus is the Delhi Sultanate. Let us start. So the period from CE 1206 to CE 1526 is known as the Sultanate period. During this period, India was being ruled by a number of Turkish sultans who belonged to Al Bari Turkish clan. They ruled for 320 years. The five dynasties of the Sultanate period were: first one, the Salave dynasty, which ruled from CE 1206 to 1290; the Khalji dynasty, which ruled from CE 1290 to 1320; the Tughlaq dynasty ruled from CE 1320 to 1414 CE; the Sayyid dynasty, who ruled from CE 1414 to 1451 CE; the Lodi dynasty, who ruled from CE 1451 to 1526 CE. Let us start the first dynasty, that is the Salave dynasty. So in this chapter we will study about the Salave dynasty, the Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty and Lodi dynasty. First of all, we will study about the Slave dynasty. So the rulers of this dynasty ruled from CE 1206 to CE 1290. They were called as slaves or Mamluks, as Altamash and Balban, the two rulers, were slaves of Qutbuddin Aibak, and interestingly, Aibak himself was a slave of Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori you have studied in the last chapter of the first term, the Turkish invaders. So the dynasty was called as Mamluk dynasty. Mamluk is an Arabic word which means owned or slaves. So let us discuss about the founder of the slave dynasty. The first person, the name of that person is the Qutbuddin Aibak. So he was the founder of slave dynasty and he began his career as a slave of Muhammad Ghori. So what happened, my dear students? Just listen. So Qutbuddin Aibak was born in Turkestan or Turkmenistan of modern day, and he belonged to Elbari tribe or Turkic tribe. When he was very small, he was separated from his family, and some thief or some other person has taken him to the slave market of Nishapur of Turkestan. Qazi Fakhruddin Abdul Aziz Kufi, the descendant of Muslim theologian Abu Hanif, purchased him. Aibak was treated affectionately in Qazi's household, and he was educated as Qazi's sons. He learned archery, horse riding and Quran over there. Qazi's one of the sons sold Aibak out of jealousy, sold Aibak to a merchant, who in turn sold the boy to Ghori Sultan Muizzuddin or Shamsuddin Muhammad Ghori. Is it clear? So after coming to Ghori, he rose to the position of general, and Muhammad Ghori appointed him as the governor of his Indian conquests. After Ghori's death, Aibak declared himself as independent. Ghori died in 1206 CE. So after his death, Aibak declared himself as independent and became the ruler of his Indian possessions. He consolidated his kingdom through matrimonial alliance with his rivals. For example, he married the daughter of Tajuddin Jaldiz, one of the governor of Muhammad Ghori. He was also slave of Muhammad Ghori, Tajuddin Jaldiz also, and he was a strong rival of Qutbuddin Aibak. Aibak was popularly known as Lakh Baksh Data, as he donated generously lakhs of money to both Hindus and Muslims. Aibak had built Qutub Minar and Quwwatul Islam, a mosque in the same area or the complex of Qutub Minar. Aibak died in CE 1210 as he fell from his horse while playing Chogan, that is the Indian polo, and he was buried in Anar Kali Bazaar of Lahore. Now we will study about the second person, that is the Al-Tatmash. So what happened after the death of Aibak? After the death of Aibak, nobles placed his son Aram Shah on the throne of Delhi. But Aram Shah, as his name suggests, Aram, he was very incapable and an inefficient ruler. So he was overthrown and Aibak's son-in-law Al-Tatmash was invited to occupy the throne in CE 1210. So who is this Al-Tatmash? Al-Tatmash, when he was very small, was sold as a slave in the market of Delhi. Aibak purchased him when Aibak was himself as a slave of Muhammad Ghori, purchased Al-Tatmash and he brought him up. Is it clear? So his position, Al-Tatmash's position, was challenged as he had no hereditary claim over the throne, but he proved himself as strong and efficient ruler by conquering Malwa, Mandu, Ujjain, Gwalior, Ranthambore and brought whole of the northern India under his rule. Thus, he has been called as the real founder of the Delhi Sultanate. Who has founded Delhi Sultanate? That is the Qutbuddin Aibak. But the real founder of Delhi Sultanate was Al-Tatmash. Now let us see the achievements of Al-Tatmash. So when Al-Tatmash came into power, first of all, he shifted his capital from Lahore to Delhi after the suppressing the revolts of Amirs, or you can say the nobles of Delhi. Now, before him, Qutbuddin Aibak has shifted the capital from Delhi to Lahore. Now, why he has shifted his capital from Delhi to Lahore? To fight with Taj ud-Din Zaldis and to acknowledge the suzerainty of Ghiyasuddin Mahmud, son of Muhammad Ghori, who considered himself as the ruler of India. So to stop both of them, Qutbuddin Aibak has shifted his capital from Delhi to Lahore. So when Al-Tatmash came into power, he shifted his capital from Lahore to Delhi. He saved Delhi Sultanate from Mongol invasions. What happened? Mongols were very strong, cruel tribe of Central Asia and they were fighting with Khwarizm, and the prince of Khwarizm, because at that time the head of the Mongols were Genghis Khan. By the fear of Genghis Khan, Jalal ad-Din, the prince of Khwarizm, because of the fear of Genghis Khan, ran from Khwarizm and come to Al-Tatmash because he know that Al-Tatmash is a strong ruler. But Al-Tatmash, because at that time he has to face the internal revolts also, he has to suppress the outer revolts also, he has to check his boundaries also. So that's why our Al-Tatmash didn't help Jalal ad-Din, and with this Genghis Khan was very happy that Al-Tatmash hadn't helped the prince of Khwarizm, and he returned back from the borders of India to Central Asia. Is it clear? And it didn't attack upon our Al-Tatmash. So Al-Tatmash saved the Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate, from the Mongol invasions by not helping whom? Prince of Khwarizm. Al-Tatmash suppressed internal revolts. He got his claim to throne approved by the Khalifa of Makkah, Turkey. Is it good? Who gave him legitimacy to the rule. He can rule now. He is not a slave now. When he got the letter of Khalifa, he can rule. Is it clear? He is not being slave of anyone now. He reorganized the land revenue system. He introduced gold and silver coins, and the silver coins are known as tankas. He had completed the construction of Qutub Minar, because when Qutbuddin Aibak started the construction of Qutub Minar, suddenly his death was over there. And Qutub Minar was not completed at that time. So Al-Tatmash completed the construction of Qutub Minar. For better administration, Al-Tatmash divided his kingdom into iqtas or provinces, small iqtas or small provinces. The iqtas was administered by iqtadas, the officers, who maintained law and order in their own iqtas for the better administration. So these were the just introduction of the Delhi Sultanate, and we have completed the first two person, Qutbuddin Aibak and Al-Tatmash. In our next video, we will deal with Radia Sultan, Nasiruddin Mahmud and Ghiyasuddin Balban. Thank you.